Hello everyone, welcome to 3ddesignacademy.com. In this lesson, we will continue with part 15 of constructing the car project. Okay, so in the previous lesson, we were able to change some of the body side patch layout, and we were able to add a little more section to the side profile. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some fillets to and make it a little bit more complete. So before we continue, I think I'm going to take a look at the picture and determine which fillet I should construct first, and also determine the approximate size of the fillets that I'm going to put in. So looking at this picture or pictures, I think I'm going to construct this fillet first that runs across from that connects this these two surfaces right here. So I'm going to construct the fillet here, and I'm going to construct the fillet that runs across here. Okay, so I now that I looked at the picture for reference, let's actually start building. So I'm going to go to surface fillet. I'm going to go to chord G2, and for the chord length, I'm going to start at 200, and for the form factor, I'm going to leave it at 0.5 because it is a large fillet, and I want to approximate G3 condition. Okay, so next up, I'm going to change the flow control to edge align. And I'm gonna let's actually start building it. Okay, so looks like it's a little bit actually a lot smaller than what I like. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to the fillet tool by doing construction, doing query edit, and I'm gonna change the quarter length to 400. Okay, I think that looks a lot better. And let's compare it to the picture. Okay, let me actually shrink this down a little bit. I'll move this up so that I can look at it at the same time. I think it could be a little bit bigger. Yeah, maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger than what we have now. So maybe I'll do 500. Yeah, I think that looks closer. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. Now, if you notice, because you'll notice that the CV structure on this is a little bit weird. So I'm going to try to clean that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy copy the edges. So I'm going to say duplicate. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click here, and I'm just going to undo. And instead of having a wiggly edge, so I'm just going to create a straight edge from here to here, and also from here to there. That looks good. So I'm just going to project, delete. Notice that I'm basically recycling the curve that was produced by the surface fillet tool, because it already has a basically G2 continuity with lead in, so it's kind of nice transition. So I'm going to say trim over here, and I'm going to reconstruct it using the square tool. So I'm going to say curvature on 1 and curvature on 3. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and 4, like that. Now we do have a little bit of span. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all try rebuilding it. So I'm going to say 1, so that reduced it a little bit, and 3. So we weren't able to get rid of it all. So I'm going to now try turn rebuild off, and I'm going to try construction explicit control. Sorry. So I'm going to increase the degree to 5 on both sides. So if you notice, and also increase the degree to 5 on that side. Now it does say curvature failed, but I'm going to take a little bit deeper look at why it failed in the first place. So I'm going to go over here, and under evaluate, I'm going to check on service continuity, and I'm going to show max label, show comb. I'm going to say go. I'm going to click on here. Okay, so it looks like there is a position failure right here. Now, instead of adding span, I think I can use align to make fix this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say go to align G2, and I'm going to try to align it like that. And just like that, we were able to fix positional issue. Yeah, that was easy. Okay, so that's good. So we got curvature on both sides, and I'm going to do the same thing down here. So In this case, because we already have a fillet here, I'm just, instead of using a surface fillet, I'm just going to create a curve and just bring it straight down. Because right now, the theoretical between the two surfaces is just straight, I'm just gonna also bring this straight down. And I'm gonna use project to trim. Delete the curves because we don't need that anymore. And I'm just gonna use the trim tool to trim that away. Now, do notice that right now the surface is a little bit bigger, and it's because of the trim operation, it kind of looks like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say on trim, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to extend this curved surface right there. Now, if to use extend, I can just do it under here, or you can use the extend tool. So I'm going to say extend, but because I already have the tool open, the trim tool open, I'm going to say extend, select it, and I'm going to just click on the arrow, extend it all the way. I'm going to say keep, and that's good. Now this surface did shift, I think. Maybe not. So I'm just going to leave that be. Just edge align, correct ends, doesn't really matter because we're going to be modifying that anyways. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to copy paste this curve. And I'm going to say move pivot here, and I'm going to just bring it down here. The reason why I'm doing this instead of creating a new curve is because right now the proportions of the CVs are critical. So if I were to just drag a CV from here to here and change it to degree 5, you'll notice that the spacing of the CV is a little bit different. And you want to make sure that the spacing of the CV is very harmonious between two curves so that there are, it just works better. So I'm just going to delete that curve, and I'm just going to use the stretch tool just to connect the end. And what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to use a line over here, G2, and I'm going to line here and G2. So now we have a G2 continuous curve that is also harmonious, and the CV structures are similar between the top, one at the top. So again, I'm going to use a square. So let me just try without explicit control. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so it looks like we do still have spans. So I'm going to say rebuild 1 and 3, rebuild. Okay, so this time I didn't have to use explicit control, and we got a nice, nice fillet with nice CV structure. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so now let's continue with this side. So also, okay, I'm going to just drag a curve down here and here. Let's say project and project right here. And I'm going to trim here and trim here. Now you'll notice that I don't need to really create a curve because we already have a straight edge right here. So I'm going to use that. So again, square. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so that looks good. However, you'll notice that the CV structure is sort of splitting out like this. That is okay because this is actually a straight surface, but just for a little bit, just for better modeling sake, I think what I'm gonna, oh, okay, so I should leave that on. I think I'm gonna rebuild number 4 side and see if that works. Okay, so looks like that's actually not working. Let's see if I can fix that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna check on service continue, and actually that's interesting. I'm surprised that we are getting a position failure. Let's see if that's the case. I mean, I would prefer to keep the CV structure like this, but because we have a position failure, I think I'm gonna have to use a line. So I'm just gonna use a line like that, and I'm gonna say partial. Okay, so we were able to achieve a positional continuity. However, because we achieved a positional continuity, there might have been a little bit of shift in the CVs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use blending in order to make this a little bit more gradual. So I'm going to use blending, check that on, and for the extra CV rows, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm not going to touch this because that's going to touch the positional continuity between these two surfaces. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that off, turn the CV structure off, and I'm going to make sure that this align operation didn't mess up my surface continuity over here. So I'm going to click here and click here, and it looks like we were able to retain the curvature continuity. Okay, so I think that looks that actually looks pretty good. And if you look at the picture right here, I think it's actually following the picture really nicely. So I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, I'm just gonna move that to the side. Okay, so because, okay, let me just check the highlight. I think that looks pretty good. Now you'll notice that the highlight is seems a little funny here. Right now it's going like this, but I think that's, well, we'll have to see how it flows with when we put a fillet here. But I think it's gonna look okay, because if you see right here, you'll also see the core of the highlight actually ending up somewhere over here. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So let's delete the construction history over here because I don't need it anymore. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a surface fillet that runs all the way across there. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, again, I'm gonna pull out surface fillet, and I'm also going to start small. So I'm gonna start at maybe 200. Might be too big, but let's find out. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a surface fillet between these, like that. I'm gonna keep edge aligned. Actually, I think that looks pretty good. Now there's something funky going on over here, but I'm gonna address it a little bit later. Okay, so in order to check the size, I'm just going to use the existing curve that I have for the body side, and I'm gonna just do a project like this. Let's compare that to a picture. So this one's front. I think this looks a little bit more, looks a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see, rear view. I mean, I should really flip the image. Okay, I think the perspective is pretty similar. Just shift a little bit and do like that. Okay, I think, yeah, I think it looks pretty close. So I think I'm going to just go with that. Okay, the only problem is right now we have some weird surface going in, and if you look at the CV structure, it's going all over the place. So let me just delete the curved surface for now, and let's see if I can modify this. Now, this is not complete because we actually have to do the front first, but so I'm not going to spend too much time here, but let's see if I can change this a little bit. So for the interior, because these are all aligned, I'm going to see if I can change it to either connect or edge line. Let's see if that improves it. Okay, so it did add a lot of span over here, so I'm just gonna maybe utilize connect. Okay, so that didn't do much. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave it at free. And for this one, I'm just gonna delete. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just gonna delete it, and I'm gonna use a freeform blend, G2, G2, and I'm just gonna connect the two edges like that. And now the surfaces are good, and we have a nice highlight going like that. Okay, so now let's do this side. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, first of all, I would have to create a fillet between these two surfaces, because if you look at the canvas, oh, maybe you can see it here, but let's look at the image. So if you look at this image right here, we have a nice fillet going from here to here. So I want to do the same thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change it to default. Well, you don't really have to change it, but it's I just like this CV structure better like that. Okay, and after that, I'm going to use a surface fillet, And let's start with 200. So same thing, I'm gonna keep the form factor at 0.5. It looks like it's a little bit short. So if you compare it to the canvas image right here, so you'll see that it's a little, there's a little bit of deviation here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go credit history, and I'm gonna increase that to 300. I think I can go a little bit more. Maybe not quite 400. Yeah, 400 is a little too big, so maybe 350. Yeah, I think that fits a little bit better like that. Okay, so one of the problem with using a surface fillet is sometimes it's tries to create a balance, but you'll see that the CV structure is a little bit leaning against one side, and you'll also see that the distance between here and here and here and here is a little bit different. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do undo, and I'm going to see if I can do a better one with a curve fillet. So again, I'm going to go to chord, G2, and 350, form factor at 0.5. I don't know if it's going to create a better curve, but let's try it out. Yeah, it's still leaning. Okay, so in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a curve from here to here. And I'm actually going to do a project, and I'm going to do a tubular offset. Because it was a 350, I'm going to go, because it's a radius, I'm going to say 175. It creates a similar size. It's not exact, but it's a pretty similar. So if you compare to this, you'll see that, yeah. So if I create a curved surface here, you'll see that this distance from here to here and here to here is very similar. So, well, I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to do an intersect with the surface. I'm going to delete this tubular offset. Now, the problem with using a tubular offset is that sometimes it does create a lot of spans. And I'm going to guess that this curved surface is actually quite, oh, actually it's pretty clean. So in that, if that's the case, I'm just going to delete or trim. Okay, so now we have the two edges. What we need to do is we need to create a curve. So I'm just going to use a blend curve. I'm going to connect here and snap it here. And I'm going to snap it here and snap it here. Okay, now the only problem is if you look at the CV structure, it's actually not G3 or close to G3. So what I would have to do is I'm gonna grab edit, and when you're doing this, because you can actually grab all four sides. So what you have to do is just drag, and if you want to add, you can't drag it right now. So you can use Shift and left mouse button, and you can add also the other side. And what you can do is you can just grab the square box and just click and hold and drag until the CV structure is, or the curve is fitting the canvas a little bit better. I think that looks good. And as you can see right here, there's a lot less lean towards one side. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I'm going to use the square tool. I'm going to turn the rebuild off on this. Say 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I got a nice fillet right here. Okay, so I'm just going to delete all the curves because I don't need them anymore. Okay, so let's actually try building. Actually, if that's the case, I'm going to also delete these curves like that. And I'm going to try to put a surface fillet right there. Okay, just in case, I'm just going to delete the construction history on all these surfaces just so that it doesn't mess anything up. So I'm going to say delete construction history. And actually, while we're doing that, let's check if this is push on continuous. Okay, so this is not. So that might be a little bit problem. Well, it might be a problem, it might not be. So you'll see that the gap is actually really small, and the reason why it's doing this is because this is G3, or I guess it's a G2 with to be more accurate, it's a G2 with lead-in. And I think that's the reason why it's creating a little bit of gap here. But because the gap is so small and we're going to put a fillet here anyways, I think it's going to be okay. So I'll just leave that for now. And I'm going to create a fillet over here. So this one, yeah, for effect, I'll just leave it at 0.5. So I'm just going to, because right now we haven't finished this side, I'm just going to use this as a trial run. So just 100.5, that's good. And I'm just gonna click over here. Let's see how big that is. Okay, and I'm just gonna click these surfaces too, so that we can actually, okay, it looks like it's a little bit short there. That's okay. Right now we're just looking at the size, and we're gonna probably modify the labor. Okay, so I'm just going to use the extend for now because right now the surface isn't trimmed and they might cause a little bit of issue with just trying to see what's going on. So I'm just going to use the extend also on this side, and these surfaces I'm just going to hide for now. Say invisible. And this one, I'm going to go to the side view. Just going to use a trim tool, project, and trim for now. Now this isn't complete. I'm just trying to see the fillet size to see if it fits. And after I'm happy with the determined size, then I'm going to change it. For the first look, I think it actually looks pretty good. You know, it's got a nice highlight running through, and this one, it actually looks pretty good because it's pulling nicely. I think I don't have to do a lot of modification. I'm actually pretty happy with this. Yeah, this looks pretty good. The highlight is running really nicely. So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with that. So now let's determine if the size of the fillet is big enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, use project, and I'm going to create a curved surface to compare. Let's see, I think the rear view provides a little better view. So let's compare this. I'm going to shrink the picture down like that. Get a similar perspective. I should really flip this around. Okay, I think it actually looks pretty close. Maybe it needs to be a little bit bigger, maybe slightly, but yeah, I think it actually looks pretty close. So actually, I might go just a little bit tiny bigger, so maybe 110. And yeah, I think that's pretty close. Maybe a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so maybe I'll just leave it like that. Now, there is a little bit of span on multi-span surfaces over here, and but I think I'll spend a little more time to actually refine this after I do the front. Okay, so that's it for part 15. We'll continue in the next tutorial, and thank you guys for watching.